Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and just going to do a quick video on Tapco AK Magazines. Now, if you followed my channel for, I don't know, a couple years, you'd know that I am a big fan of the Tapco Mini 14 magazines. And it's mainly because they're pretty much the only reliable aftermarket magazines for a Mini 14. There may be one or two other fairly reliable magazines out there, but for the most part, most people think that the Tapcos are about the only other option other than factory. But when it comes to AK mags, it seems like either some people hate them or some people love them. And I just thought I'd do this video to kind of briefly describe why people hate them, why people like them, and what my thoughts are on the Tapco magazine. So I have three magazines on the table right here. I have a Magpul. This is the only other AK magazine I have that we're going to compare the other two with. But this is a Magpul Gen M3 or whatever. I'm not really sure why they name it that, but basically it's the steel reinforced magazine that Magpul makes. It's got the steel in the front and down down the whole front there, and then it's got the steel locking lug in the back. So far, this is the only magazine I've actually put any ammunition through. I've only taken my AK out one time, but it did function flawlessly, and I really like it. I'll probably get another one when I build my PSA AK-47. But anyway, the other two are basically just a standard Tapco 30 round and 20 round magazine. When I bought my AMD 63, it did come with one Tapco 30 rounder, and then I got a $50 gift card for Bass Pro and bought two more 30s and two 20s, which is this other magazine here. Now, people tend to either love or hate the Tapco magazines. Now, I will say this, I don't think anybody ever questions or makes any complaints on whether the magazines themselves actually function in the rifles. The only complaints that I hear are whether or not the magazines themselves will hold up over time compared to some other magazines like the Magpuls, or your standard metal magazines, or your Circle 10s, and all those other surplus magazines that you come across. And the reason people wonder that is basically this is a completely polymer magazine other than the base plate and the spring, of course, but you don't have any steel reinforcements on the feed lips, no steel reinforcements on the front or the back like you do with this Magpul. Now keep in mind, Magpul, the Magpul P-Mags, this is the only one where they actually make steel reinforcements. All their other models of AK magazines are pretty much just like the Tapco in that regard. And they don't even have the steel base plate. It's polymer just like that there. So, so people just don't think that the Tapco magazines will hold up as well compared to steel magazines or Circle 10s, or basically any other magazine that has steel reinforced feed lips and locking lugs, stuff like that. So the question is whether or not they'll hold up over time. And some people say that they do hold up for a pretty long time, and some people say that they find that they break really easily, and they just don't want to have to deal with that, and that's understandable. But you also have to keep in mind, this is a $10 magazine. In fact, sometimes you can find them for as low as like $8, depending on where you look and if they're on sale. Compared to something like this was like $26, $27 for one magazine. I can buy, depending on where I buy, I can probably buy like 3 of these magazines for the price of one of these. And in fact, I could probably even buy 2 of the regular Magpul magazines for the price of one of these, depending on where I buy them from. So money is also a factor when you're talking about what magazines you're going to buy, because most people tend to think that the Circle 10 AK magazines, you know, those waffle mags, and they have all the steel reinforcements and all that, they tend to think that those are the best magazines for the AK. Kind of like how Magpul, you know, most people think that Magpul are the best magazines for the AR, for the AK. That people tend to go with Circle 10s. The only problem with that is Circle 10s, you know, those are $35, $40, sometimes $45 a magazine, just for one Circle 10 magazine, whereas these, like I said, you can get these as low as $8. Typically you'll find them around $10, which is what I think around what I bought mine for. So you can buy, you know, almost 5 Tapco magazines for the price of one Circle 10, and I'm sure you can buy at least 4 Tapco magazines for the price of one Circle 10. So that's pretty significant. So if, let's say I have $50 to spare for AK magazines, and that's all the money I have for the next month or 2 months or however long I have, you know, and I have $50 to buy as many AK magazines as I want to buy. Well, the reputation of the Tapco magazines is that they're very reliable. They function pretty much flawlessly. Most people will say that they function flawlessly, just like most other AK magazines. The only problem is you don't know how long they're going to hold up, if they're going to break. But I do think that Tapco does have a very good customer service program, and if you break it, they might replace it. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've never had to deal with it myself, but I think they do have a very good customer service program. So if you break one, or if one breaks on you, you might be able to get it replaced for free. So again, the question stands: if I have $50 to spend on as many AK magazines as I can, what do I go with? Do I go with one Circle 10, or do I go with 5 Tapcos? Well, me personally, I'm going to go with the Tapcos, because, you know, if I've only got $50 to spare and I don't have any AK magazines, or I only have a couple AK magazines, I want to get as many AK magazines as I can just for prepping purposes. So I'm going to go with the Tapcos. Now, the individual magazine probably not going to hold up as long as a Circle 10, but keep in mind, I have 5 Tapcos for one Circle 10, so the you know, I'm only using them 1/5 of the time that I would be using my Circle 10, potentially making the lifespan of each individual magazine longer than if I just had one of these. Now, will the Circle 10 still last? Will one Circle 10 still last longer than 5 Tapcos? I don't know. I've never done any testing to prove that one way or the other. But, you know, again, if I have 5 of these, one of them breaks, I still have 4 other magazines. Whereas if I had a Circle 10 and for whatever reason it broke, I don't have any more magazines. So, you know, that's just my opinion on the matter. Take it for what you will, but I tend to like Tapco magazines, or at least the Mini 14 magazines. Most people I hear talk about this subject tend to like the Tapcos, but they understand that it is a budget option for a magazine. You know, a lot of people don't even like these, even the steel reinforced Magpul P-Mags. They don't even like these, and you know, some people would rather go with a Tapco over one of these. I don't have enough experience to say whether I prefer one over the other. I will say I do like the looks of this better, just in my with all my Magpul furniture on my AK. It just kind of fits the whole appearance of it. And I do like the steel reinforcements on the front and the back, so the locking lugs will last longer than, say, a Tapco. But anyway, that's all I pretty much had to say about that. I don't, you know, I wouldn't put Tapco down. Obviously, I have 5 of them, But you know, if I had the money, maybe I would go with Circle 10s or, you know, even steel magazines, which really aren't that expensive, but they still are more expensive than Tapco's. I would really like to get a few steel magazines someday. Those are typically like $12 to $15, depending on where you get them. Some of them may cost more, just depending on the country of origin. Again, going back to another video I did, if you get surplus magazines, you got to be careful with that 922R compliance. Got to make sure you have at least 6 American-made parts on your foreign-made AK. So just keep that in mind if you're getting surplus magazines. The good thing about all 3 of these magazines is that's 3 American-made compliance parts, and then you only have to worry about 3 other parts on your rifle. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.